Welcome back to Awakening to Your Story TV, the place to learn, get inspired, and be supported with heart centered solutions for your everyday life. I'm your host, Alicia Hartzell, and today we're going to talk about how to navigate a challenging situation. We're going to take that challenging situation and help you make it feel like a win. Okay, I've got 5 tried and true steps that if you follow, it will make it feel so much better. And at the end, I'm going to give you some personal examples to really help you bring it home. Okay. Now let's jump in. 5 steps. The first one is set an intention. Second is create tangible actions. The third is check in with yourself. Fourth, call out your wins. And fifth is activate physical, mental, and emotional self-care. Okay, let's get started. Setting an intention. If you've been here with me for a while, you know the power of setting an intention. When you set an intention, you're calling out and you're creating a space so that you become an active participant in what's happening rather than a reactive participant, right? It allows you to really step into a place of autonomy. So when you set an intention, you ask yourself, how do I want to feel? And what do I want to accomplish? And you try to make it as concise as possible because an intention becomes a filter for your thoughts and a filter for your actions, right? So if you're setting an intention for a small situation, it may be a smaller intention. If you're setting an intention for a big situation, it's still going to be a concise intention, but it may have more nuances. And I personally love writing things out because it really allows your brain to activate it and create ownership for it in a completely different way, right? Okay, the next one is creating tangible actions, which as a Virgo makes me so happy. Anytime that you can create a list of things that will keep you on track, I feel like it helps you shift from chaos to order. And that is a win if it's a challenging situation, right? One of the additional perks of creating a list of tangible actions for yourself, right, is that as you have that list, write it out and then cross it off. Every time you cross it off, you get a tiny little hint of dopamine. And that dopamine will not only help you feel good, it will actually also keep you wanting more of that task fulfillment, right? So when you're doing this, I want you to really allow yourself to not push too far out in front of you. My favorite question that I ask when I'm doing this is, what is my next logical step forward? And it really allows you to narrow in, right? When you're dealing with a challenging situation, often things feel real big and out of control. And so if you can just narrow in on a few steps forward, what are my next logical steps forward, and write them out, then it brings you in to a place where you can be more present. And that is always going to feel more like a win than getting lost in details that you don't even know if they're going to fit or work in that big picture, right? So, next logical steps forward, write them out, check them off. Okay. The third one is checking in with yourself. Now, this one may seem like it's not necessary, but if you can create space to check in with yourself, then you are allowing yourself not to get lost in things that the broader situation may be pushing you to do outside of your alignment, outside of that intention, outside of that list of tasks that you've set out for yourself, right? If you create these check ins, how am I feeling mentally? How am I feeling emotionally? How am I feeling physically? And then offering yourself the space to adjust along the way, it's going to help you stay in that place of internal alignment, in that place of feeling good and expansive and powerful for your own being, right? This is going to turn any challenging situation again into a place where you are creating space to win for yourself. Okay, the next one is calling out your wins. Now, this does a lot of heavy lifting because if you take time to call out your wins, what you're actually doing is creating a positive bias within the situation. I have created positive bias as an emotional tool that I will link here and below. So that if you don't have ownership of creating a positive bias as an emotional tool, it'll really walk you through the stages of that. But creating a positive bias means that you're scanning through the whole dynamic and calling out those wins, calling out the things you're grateful for, calling out the things that feel like a yes, right? That feel like a victory, like a win. And as you do that, you create momentum for more of that energy to come in. If you're holding space and scanning for those wins, then what you're doing is you're carrying around that light energy, that yes energy, rather than creating the focus of the things that may be weighing you down. So it's how you create energy within that state of alignment for yourself, right? If you can call out your wins, if you can create that positive bias within that space, then again, that challenging situation doesn't feel as challenging. It feels like something that you're navigating your way through with possibility, with ease, with a sense of accomplishment, right? Okay. In addition to the positive bias tool, I'm also going to link the emotional tool library because I think that those tools will help you really sustain these steps. All right. The next one is activate physical, mental, and emotional self-care. Now, self-care is a deliberate act of kindness that you give yourself, right? It's the sense of love and compassion and support. And there's a wide variety of what that may look like. Step in and utilize all of those things, mental, emotional, and physical self-care, right? Making sure that you're creating space to gift yourself the things that you need so that you can sustain your way through the navigating to the end of the situation, right? If you can drop in those gifts of love to yourself, gifts of compassion to yourself, then it's sustainable, right? Getting through and navigating through to the end becomes a sustainable act. And self-care is key to creating that sustainability. Okay, I did an episode on self-care that I will also link here and below because it'll explain the nuances of it for you if this is a new idea to you. Okay, now on to my example. I have had a little bit of a rough year from birthday to birthday. I had 3 really challenging situations back to back. I'm going to give you the example of the last one that I navigated my way through. And this situation could have torn my marriage apart. It could have left me and my husband both feeling like hollow shells of ourselves because it was such a big task. We had to leave our homes and our lives for 3 months to go and help a family member. This family member was in the later stages of dementia, and it meant moving them into a care center. It meant going through their very large 7,000 square foot home that they had lived in for a long time and had completely hoarded. So my husband and I had to take 3 months and make sure that all of the things in the house that were treasured possessions to this person were taken care of, that the things that needed to stay in the family were able to stay in the family and be sent off to have a new life of their own. It could do that too. But again, this was a big ask. This was 3 months of morning to night work, not just emotional work, not just emotional heavy lifting, but physical heavy lifting, right? And so my husband went first, and then I went. And before I left, I activated these 5 steps. Um, and you have to understand that the reason I teach what I do is because I I I do it for myself. I am anything that I teach, I practice, right? And so when I knew that this was coming, I really set my own intention. And then when I got to the home and was creating space with my husband, we stepped in together. And thankfully, my husband will go with me emotionally wherever we need to go. And he really lived into these steps too. And again, what could have knocked us all over the place, we walked away feeling not only proud of each other, but proud of ourselves. And our marriage was stronger than when we started, right? Which is what a challenging situation can do if navigated with consciousness and compassion and care, which is what these 5 steps do. Okay, so let me give you an example. The first one is setting an intention. Like I said, I set an intention before I even went out, but every day my husband and I would wake up early. We found a really cute little coffee shop. We would go and sit at our little coffee shop together with our dog every day and really set an intention for what we wanted to do in that day, how we wanted to feel in that day. And we checked in with our overall intention for the project, right? Just in case we needed to make adjustments. So we had a big intention and then we had a daily intention. And that led us into step 2, which was actually creating tangible actions. Now, again, it was a very big situation where you could walk in and feel overwhelmed and lost like that, right? But if you really stop, which we did, and go, okay, what is our next logical step forward? We had collective logical next steps forward and individual logical next steps forward. And we didn't push too far out. We stayed true to what we could do in those days. And sometimes things moved to the next day, and that was okay. But we had a very clear and concise plan. And as we wrote them out, we had a purple legal pad that we left on the kitchen counter. We would walk by, cross things off. I knew what he was doing, he knew what I was doing. We both felt the sense of accomplishment each day. And it allowed us to stay on track, right? So we felt powerful, we felt empowered because we had set a clear intention, we had made tangible next steps, and then we were crossing those off. Those hits of dopamine were doing their job to keep us on track, right? Okay, the next one is calling out your wins. Now, this is what we did every night. We would sit down and have dinner, and checking in with yourself is next, which is what we also did when we had dinner. We would sit down at dinner every night and check in with ourselves. How were we feeling physically? How were we feeling emotionally? Had we done the things that we set out for ourselves to do in the day? If not, we would carry them over into the next day. And it really allowed for space to be engaged both individually and separately. And we could make adjustments, minor or big adjustments along the way, right? And then that led into us talking about the wins. When you're dealing with a challenging situation, sometimes the challenge can overshadow and pull your energy down because you're mired in the struggle. When you call out your wins, again, you're creating that positive bias. So we would literally take time and say, okay, this is where I felt like a win. This is where I saw you do a win. Like it created space for us to feel more effervescent, more like we were celebrating at the end of the day, which if you have a lot of days back to back, feeling like you're winning it creates sustainability. Feeling like you're winning, feeling like you're succeeding in what you set out, it makes you want to do more. It is contagious, right? And so we did that at the end of the day. And then the next one was self care. Now, as somebody who doesn't like to eat out a lot, some of the radical self care for myself was not cooking or cleaning at the end of the day. We just did not have time or space. We were working morning to night every day to try to get it done in a short window of time. And so ordering healthy food in was a radical act of self care. Our coffees that we did in the morning, radical act of self care. After dinner at night, I would go and take a hot bath, meditate, maybe watch a show that was lighthearted that made me laugh and giggle. All of those helped me on a physical, mental, and emotional level take a pause, check in with myself, make sure I was tending to my physical body because it was a hard physical job. And it allowed me to again create sustainability within the situation, within the project that we were doing, right? So if you're in a small situation within yourself or a small dynamic with other people, whatever the situation may be, if it's big, when you activate these steps, they can be as tailored to the dynamic as they need to be. And if you need help, I'm here to help you. Let me help you walk through. I'm a comment away, right? I utilized all of the Awakening to Your Story tools to really allow my mental, emotional state to feel sound, which is a radical act of self care in and of itself, right? I walked away from that dynamic feeling super successful, feeling like we had really done a good job. And it was these 5 steps that gifted me, gifted my husband, gifted, our family the ability to create that space, right? So I want to just advocate for you. You have the power to do these things. Even if you just pick one and try one, it will change the game for you, right? Okay. I am here if you need anything. Like and share the video, leave a comment. If you have any questions, I will be right there to answer them. And I want you to know that until next time, I'm holding a place of love for you where your ability to turn any situation into a win, well, it's undeniable.